So as you guys are aware, we pushed out a couple of features for Java in 3.17, mostly deploying applications and being able to store those in the built-in library. So we had a couple of extra features that we also wanted to add to bring up Java to the feature set that you get with Windows and .NET. And one of those was the ability to deploy the certificates that are managed by Octopus into application servers like Tomcat and Wildfly. So we have the ability now, a few little bugs aside, to deploy certificates out of Octopus and into Tomcat. And so this is what the step looks like. And so for deploying into Tomcat, what we're actually doing is modifying an XML config file and creating a number of certificate files. So in the case of, depending on the implementation you select, in the case of Tomcat, we'll be creating a Java key store file to store the certificates. And so this is where we define all the information. This is the installation path of Tomcat. And so this is how we know where the XML file is that we're editing. Actually, I'll go to this one. We have the certificate that's being deployed, some more configuration fields here. The Tomcat has a number of different kinds of implementations that it has for HTTPS. Older versions had this blocking I/O, and then they've progressively introduced newer versions like non-blocking I/O and non-blocking I/O 2, and the APR, which actually defers the SSL processing to like a native library, like the OpenSSL library. So we can select any one of them, and this does have a bearing on the kinds of certificates that are created on the target machine. You define the port that this is going to listen on, and in this case, we're not setting any other information, so this will be the default certificate that will respond to all requests. And if we deployed that, we would have something like this. So here's just a self-signed certificate that I've deployed to Tomcat. There's my port, and this is a built-in like manager app that comes with Tomcat. And we can see here that the certificate has been deployed with the non-blocking I/O 2 implementation. If you're using Tomcat 8.5 and above, we get support for SNI, which is a way of having multiple certificates deployed to a single server. And the certificate that you get is determined by the host name that you accessed. So in this case, all the config is the same, except I've selected a different certificate. And in the options here, I've said that I want this certificate to respond when I'm accessing the site through example.org. And I've just got a entry in my host file that redirects example.org to the IP address. And if we look at this, we can see that we actually have a second certificate now responding to this request. So right now we're actually like 99% functional with this. I've got to clean up the UI a little bit, and there's a few other tests that need to go in, but we are at the point now where we can deploy certificates from Octopus into Tomcat. So the next step will be to do the same thing for Wildfly, and after that, I think the remaining work for the Java implementation is to add support for the Maven feeds as an external feed in Octopus. So this was pretty quick. There's not a lot to show here. Actually, I might just jump in and show you what the config files look like. So this is the XML file that we're actually editing. And if we look down here, This is the port, the 446 port that we have been adding certificates to, and this is ultimately where all the settings are saved. So yeah, pretty quick one for me today. Did anyone have any questions?
No.
No. All right. Oh well, that's all I wanted to show off. So was there anyone else who had anything? Cool.
Nice. Yeah, very nice.